I'm going to talk PVE. Uh, PVE is helpful if you are doing dungeon, Mythic Plus, or raid. Whichever this talent build will be helpful. Like for talent build, you click this arrow mark right here, and it will show like this. And here you can do this for particular category. Like for you can do it for PVE, you can do it for PvP, and you can personalize your choice. Like that you can switch up. Like I have another one called start a build. I click this one and you see the talent build will change. Okay, but here I'm interested in PvE, so I switch it to PvE. And you can always change the talent build by clicking this one right here. You can just change completely remove the start from beginning for left tree, right tree, or you can completely wipe all of them and start from scratch. And it doesn't cost anything. You can do unlimited time. Okay. Okay, so let's look at this ones. Now I have used all the talents. I am in the maximum level and I use all the points. So first one I choose here is battle stance. It actually a balanced combat state that increases the critical strike chance of your abilities by 3% and reduce the duration of movement impairment effect by 10%. And here this is defense stance, a defense combat state that reduces all the damage you take by 15% and all the damage you deal by 10%. And impending victory, instantly attack the target causing 2600 damage and healing you for 30% of your maximum health. Killing an enemy that yields experience or honor reset the cooldown of impending victory and make it cost no rage. And here this one fast footwork, passive movement speed increased by 5%. And this one is war machine. This is also passive ability. Your auto attacks generate 10% more rage. Killing an enemy instantly generates 5 rage and increases your movement speed by 30% for 8 seconds. Okay, first I want to make sure my volume is not on, so you can hear what I'm saying. Yeah, my volume is low. So let's go continue. And then intervene. Run at high speed toward an ally, intercepting all melee ranged attack against them for 6 seconds while they remain within 10 yards. And then rallying cry, let's is an instant ability. Let's lose the rallying cry, granting all party or raid members within 40 yards 10% temporary and maximum health for 10 seconds. And then spell reflection, raise your weapon, reflect the spell cast on you and reduce magic damage you take by 20% for 5 seconds. And heroic leap through the air toward the target location, slamming down with a destructive force, deal 1222 physical damage to all enemies within 8 yards. And then frothing berserker, mortal strike and cleave have 20% chance to immediately refund 20%. And then here we have thunderclap, blast all enemy within 8 yards for 3436 physical damage and reduce their movement speed by 20% of 10 seconds. Deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. And then here furious blows, auto attack speed increase 5%. And then this one I give 2 points for it. You can see 2 here. Overwhelming rage, maximum rage increase by 30. And then here you had to choose one, sidearm and conclusive blows. So one is good for the PvP, one is good for the PvE, and this one is good for the PvE. Your auto attacks have 20% chance to hurl weapons at your target, 3 other enemies in front of you, dealing additional 1300 physical damage. The difference between PvE and PvP is usually for PvE, you have to focus on the area damage. The more area damage you deal for PvE, is good for you, and for the PvP you have to focus on the single target damage. So that's basically the difference. So you can analyze and choose the build for you based on that. And armor, reinforced plate, armor increased by 20%, and this one bounding stride reduces the cooldown of heroic leap by 15 seconds, and heroic leap now also increases your movement speed by 70% for 3 seconds. And then here you have to choose the blood and thunderclap costs 10 more rage and deals 10% increased damage. If you have rend, thunderclap affects 5 nearby targets with rend. And then here barbaric training, slam and whirlwind deal 30% more damage, but now cost 10 more rage. And then here double time increases the maximum number of charge on the charge by 1 and reduces its cooldown by 3 seconds. And then here wild strikes, it's a passive ability. Haste increased by 2% and your auto attack critical strike increase your auto attack speed by 20% for 10 seconds. And then two-handed weapon specialization increases your damage while using two-handed weapons by 5%. And then cruel strikes, critical strike chance increases by 2% and critical strike damage of execute increases by 10%. And then here thunder, and for this one I give 2 points. It increases the auto attack speed by 20% and haste increase by 2%. And here thunderous roar explosively, dealing 8,988 physical damage to enemies within 12 yards and cause them to bleed for 24,111 physical damage over 16 seconds. And then avatar transform into Colossus for 20 seconds, causing you to deal 20% increased damage and removing all the roots and stairs. And then here you have to choose one of them. Here for PvE you have to use the Warlords tournament, activating avatar or Colossus mask, cast recklessness and reduce effectiveness. And then thunderous words passive ability increases the duration of thunderous roar bleed effect by 2 seconds and increases the damage of your bleed effect by 15% of all times. So this is the ability you have to choose in the left side of it. And the right side you have to start with the mortar strike, a vicious strike that deals 11,055 physical damage and reduces the effectiveness of healing on the target by 50% for 10 seconds. And then overpower the enemy, dealing 7,995 physical damage, cannot be blocked, damaged or parried, increases the damage of your next mortal strike by 30%, stacking up to 2 times. And then here die by the sword increases your parry chance by 10% and reduces all damage you take by 30% for 8 seconds. And then martial powers passive ability, overpower increases the damage of your next martial strike or cleave by 30%, stacking up to 2 times. And then improves execute no longer has a cooldown, and if your foe survives 10% of the rage spent is refunded. And then here you have to choose this one, ignore pain, fight through the pain, ignoring 50% of the damage taken up to 50,580 total damage prevented. And then sudden death, your attack, it's a passive ability, your attack have a chance to make your next execute cost no rage, be usable on any target regardless of their health, and deal damage as if you spend 40 rage. And then Colossus smashes the enemy's armor, dealing 12,273 physical damage and increases the damage you deal to them by 30% for 13 seconds. And then Tactician is a passive ability, you have a 2.5% chance per rage spend on attacks to reset the remaining cooldown overpower. And then here Impale, the passive ability, the damaging critical strike of your abilities deal an additional 10% damage. And then here Rend, wounds target causing 3,840 additional 11,025 bleed damage over 21 seconds. And then here you have to choose the anger management. Every 20, it's a passive ability, every 20 rage you spend on attacks reduces the remaining cooldown on Colossus Mass and Bladestorm by 1 second. And then here you have to choose the Strength of Arms, is a passive ability, overpower has 10% increased critical strike, chance deal 10% increased critical strike damage, and on enemies below 35% health, overpower generate 8 rage. And then Bloodborne is a passive ability, you can just get one of them. Deep Wounds, Rend and Thunderous Roar bleed effect deal 7.5% increases damage. And then next rank, the passive ability, Deep Wounds, Rend, the Thunderous Roars bleed effect deal 15% increases damage. And here red note, the passive ability. Overpower has 2 star charges, causes damage to all enemies in 10 yard line, deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. And here you have to choose the Test of Might. Is a passive ability. When Colossus Smash expires, your strength is increased by 1% for every 10 rage you spend on attack during Colossus Smash. And then here you have to choose the Blunt Instruments. Passive ability, Colossus Smash damage increases by 30% and its effect duration is increased by 3 seconds. And here Massacre passive ability, Execute, is now usable on targets below 35% health. And here you have to choose Storm of Swords. It's a passive ability, Whirlwind costs 20 more rage and has the 14-second cooldown. It now deals 175% more damage. Okay, and then if we go here, draft experience, I took 2 of them. Passive ability, Mastery increased by 2% and Tactician chance triggered is increased by in additional 1.2%. So here we are looking at Mastery, Critical Strike and all the stuff. I will also talk about the order of importance you have to give for the PVEs, but let's finish this one first. Here for Critical Thinking, I take 2 of them. It's a passive ability, Critical Strike chance increased by 2% and Execute immediately refunds 10% of rage spent. And here Battle Lord passive ability, Overpower deals 35% increased damage and has a 35% chance to reset the cooldown of Mortar Strike and Cleave and generate 10 rage. And here Bloodletting passive ability, Deep Wound Strength and Thunderous Roar. Bleed effect lasts 6 seconds longer and have 5% increased critical strike. If you have Rend, Mortar Strike inflicts Rend on targets below 35% health. And here Sharpened Blades passive ability, your Mortar Strike, Cleave and Execute critical strike damage is increased by 10% and your Execute has a 5% increased critical hit chance. And then Juggernaut is a passive ability, Execute executes damage dealt by 3% and 12 seconds, stacking up to 15 times. And then lastly, Fatality, it's a passive ability, your Mortar Strike have cleaves against enemies above 30% health, have a high chance to apply Fatal Mark. When an enemy falls below 30% health, your next Execute inflicts an additional 11,587 physical damage per stack. And lastly, Executor's Precision. It's a passive ability, Execute causes the target to 35% more damage from your next Mortal Strike, stacking up to 2 times. Okay, so this is the build is best for the PvE. If you are doing dungeon, if you are doing the Mythic plus dungeon, if you are doing the raid, this is the best one to go. But if you are going for the battleground or arenas, you have to build a different style for PvP. I will talk about it in my upcoming videos. And also the order of importance. If you look at this, if you click your characters, the order of importance is actually exact same order like this. Like for PvE, you have to give most important to critical strike first. So whenever you're picking up an item, you have to look at does it have a critical strike more than you compare the critical strike for, like let's say you have 2 items for the head. You see which one has a critical strike more and choose that one, like that. So critical strike has a higher importance, and then haste comes second, mastery comes third, versatility comes fourth, and leech comes the 5th one. So this is the order of importance you have to give. It's in the exact order. If you go top to bottom, that's the order you have to follow. And you can also set up macros. I have like bunch of macros. I will make a video about that as well. Macro allow you to cast like 2-3 spells at the same time. So what's the thing you have to be thoughtful about macro is some of the abilities doesn't combine, so you have to see which abilities or 2-3 abilities you can combine together and make it work. And also there's a add-on called Omni CD, so you can see the cooldown of each abilities, and then whenever something is on cooldown, you can use the one that's available. Okay, so one thing is you have to set up the macro. What else you need to know? Yeah, macro setting is the main thing. I will talk about it in my upcoming videos, and also PvP talent build. And additionally, That's basically it, and I hope you guys found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. See you guys on my next video.